For years, radio telescopes have recorded a stubborn frequency from one of the emptiest regions near our galaxy. It repeats with mathematical precision, but NASA does not classify it as a message. The reason is more unsettling than aliens. By the end, you'll know where this so-called cosmic dead zone is, what could create its artificial-looking rhythm, and why the apparent silence surrounding it may expose something fundamental about the universe. To find the dead zone, pull away from Earth. Pass the Moon, cross the planetary orbits, and keep moving until the Sun becomes one ordinary point among hundreds of billions. From here, the Milky Way looks crowded, a luminous spiral packed with stars, gas, dust, and violent stellar nurseries. But that picture is deceptive. The galaxy is not filled evenly. Between its bright structures are cavities where hot gas and ancient explosions have swept ordinary material away. Our solar system sits inside one of them, the local bubble, a roughly 1,000 light-year wide cavity carved by supernovae millions of years ago. Inside this bubble, matter is extraordinarily thin. Nearby clouds exist, but compared with a nebula, the region is almost vacant. That makes it feel dead, not because nothing exists there, but because the ingredients that normally create visible cosmic drama have been stripped away. No thick molecular clouds. Few newborn stars. No blazing stellar nursery filling the sky. Just a sparse, hot interior, and signals passing through it with unusually little interference. That last detail is where the mystery begins. Radio astronomy does not hear space the way your ears hear sound. A telescope measures electromagnetic energy and converts it into data, intensity, frequency, polarization, and time. Most cosmic radio sources are messy. Pulsars flash. Quasars hiss. Magnetic stars erupt. Ionized gas spreads energy across broad bands. Human technology adds an even thicker layer: satellites, radar, aircraft, phones, and reflections bouncing from objects around Earth. Yet every so often, a narrow frequency appears with a pattern that looks almost engineered. The spacing may repeat. The pulses may form ratios. A signal may return at the same sidereal time, when the same patch of sky rotates overhead. On a graph, it can resemble a ruler laid across chaos. That is exactly the kind of result that excites people and makes scientists suspicious. Because mathematics alone is not proof of intelligence. Nature loves repetition. Rotating stars behave like clocks. Orbiting bodies create intervals. Plasma can amplify narrow bands. Even a telescope's electronics can generate harmonics so precise that they look designed. And if the signal passes through an unusually empty region, it can arrive cleaner than expected, making a natural source look unnaturally perfect. Here is the contradiction: if a signal looks artificial, why wouldn't NASA immediately point its largest instruments at it? Because that is not how the search works. NASA studies the universe with spacecraft and observatories, but mysterious radio detections are often handled by independent observatories, universities, and research programs. Before anyone invokes extraterrestrial technology, the signal must survive a brutal process of elimination. First, researchers check whether it appears in more than one telescope. If only one instrument detects it, the source may be local. Then they test whether the frequency drifts as Earth rotates and orbits the Sun. A distant transmitter should move through frequency space in a measurable way. Terrestrial interference often behaves differently. They compare the pattern against satellites, known spacecraft, radar systems, pulsars, stellar flares, and instrument clocks. Then they try to detect it again. Most candidates die there. Not because someone buries them, but because the universe produces false alarms faster than scientists can name them. So the phrase "NASA ignores it" hides a less dramatic reality. Without repeatable, independently verified data, there is nothing solid for NASA to announce. But before we get to what may actually be producing the pattern, you need to understand something even stranger. The dead zone may not be a place at all. Imagine standing in a silent valley and hearing a clock ticking miles away. You might assume the clock is inside the valley. But the silence merely allows sound from beyond it to reach you. The same logic applies here. A low-density cavity such as the local bubble does not need to generate a signal. It can act as a window through the noisy material of the galaxy. With less cold gas, less dust, and fewer dense plasma structures along certain sightlines, radio waves may experience less scattering or absorption. The apparent source could sit far beyond the cavity, a pulsar rotating hundreds of times per second, a magnetized star, an active galactic nucleus, or plasma trapped in a powerful magnetic field. Even more confusing, the path itself can modify what arrives. Interstellar plasma bends radio waves. Multiple paths can interfere, strengthening some frequencies and erasing others. This processed scintillation is the cosmic version of a star twinkling, except it can sculpt radio data into narrow, repeating structures. You are not simply observing the object. You are observing the object, multiplied by everything between it and you. And sometimes, the emptiest foreground creates the clearest illusion. Now look at the suspects. A pulsar is the collapsed core of a massive star. It can pack more mass than the Sun into a sphere roughly the size of a city. Its magnetic poles fire beams of radiation into space, and as the star spins, those beams sweep past Earth like a lighthouse. The timing can be astonishingly stable. Some millisecond pulsars rival atomic clocks over long periods. If you encountered that rhythm without knowing its source, it would feel manufactured. Then there are spectral lines, specific frequencies emitted by atoms and molecules. Hydrogen, the most common element in the cosmos, produces a famous radio line near 1.42 GHz. Magnetic fields can split lines into ordered components. Rotating plasma can create harmonics. Orbital motion can impose cycles within cycles. The universe does not produce random noise alone. Gravity makes clocks. Rotation makes pulses. Quantum mechanics makes exact frequencies. Magnetic fields organize chaos into bands. An artificial-looking mathematical signature is therefore not an exception to nature. It is one of nature's specialties. But one test separates a fascinating pattern from a genuine technological candidate, and this is where the cosmic dead zone finally gives up its secret. The decisive question is not, does the signal contain mathematics? It is. Does it carry information? A clock repeats. A beacon repeats. Natural oscillations repeat. But a message changes in structured ways. It encodes relationships that cannot be explained by rotation, orbit, interference, or known physics. Researchers would search for modulation, controlled variations in frequency, phase, intensity, or polarization. They would demand repeated detections by distant observatories. They would check whether the source remains fixed against the stars while showing the Doppler motion expected from a rotating planet. And that is the reveal: there is no publicly verified evidence that NASA has identified a region officially called the cosmic dead zone, or that it is ignoring a confirmed deep space frequency with an artificial signature. The name is a dramatic label placed over real phenomena: sparse galactic cavities, strange radio transients, narrowband interference, and nature's extraordinary ability to create precision. The mystery is not a suppressed alien transmission. It is that empty space can transform ordinary physics into something that looks intentional. The dead zone is not a graveyard, and it is not necessarily the transmitter. It is the quiet screen upon which the universe projects its most convincing illusions. Still, do not mistake skepticism for certainty. A real extraterrestrial signal could arrive as a narrow frequency. It could repeat. It could emerge from a region with no visible star if its source were faint, hidden, or too distant for current surveys. But it would need to persist. Multiple telescopes would need to detect it. Its motion would need to match a position beyond Earth. Its structure would need to resist every natural and human explanation. And ideally, it would contain information that prediction alone could not produce. If that happened, the response would not belong to one agency. Observatories across the planet would turn toward the coordinates. Data would spread between institutions. Every conclusion would be attacked, tested, and rebuilt. That slow process can feel frustrating. But when the claim is that humanity has encountered another intelligence, doubt is not the enemy of discovery. Doubt is the instrument that makes the answer believable. Until then, the so-called cosmic dead zone remains something almost as profound, a reminder that silence is not nothing. Sometimes silence is what lets you hear the machinery of the cosmos. If this broke your brain a little, subscribe. We drop one of these every week. And next time, we're going inside an object so dense that ordinary matter cannot survive on its surface. A teaspoon of this star weighs 6 billion tons.